tell me a little bit about yourself? Who is Sarah?
Yes, sure. Thank you for having me here. Super happy. About myself. After I studied, I started working for BMW, which was a great start. Basically, I was working there first time in the finance area, and then I switched to M&A corporations and the strategy department. And I had great colleagues, and really I could learn a lot. But after several years, I kind of realized for myself, there is some more, there needs to be some more, something else. Because I think it's great to have the experience working in a corporate company, which is, you have certain structures, you have certain requests, you have very experienced people, so they can teach you a lot. But nevertheless, you are stuck in a certain system and you kind of have to adapt. And sometimes it's also easy because there's always somebody else taking over responsibility, helping you with stuff. You always have a boss and he's always responsible for making the final decisions and stuff like that. And so at a certain point in time, I had the feeling like I can't stay there forever because I'm still too young. I have to work many years.
How young were you?
37.
No, like back then,
Yeah, well, I mean, I left BMW like 3 years ago, so I was 34. And I started thinking about that maybe already 31, 32, something like that. And I had the feeling like, I mean, some people start working for BMW when they were young or at a certain age, and then they stay there for the rest of their work life. But I was like, I started working with BMW, so I need to do something else. And then, I was thinking about also, if you stay with one company too long, you're kind of lacking of some experiences because it's, the structure, the people, but you don't know what's happening outside of that bubble. And of course, I think it's easy to also work in a different corporate company because maybe they are similar, maybe. But for me, it was like, okay, I need to do something totally different. I want to dig deep and dive into something totally different. And then I was thinking about, hey, what to do? What have I learned? With what am I good, basically? And I got in contact with several startups at BMW because they do have like a startup garage and they also have a corporate VC. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so interesting. The startup topic is like they're people that are super motivated, creative, have great ideas. They really build something like, sometimes they start from zero and at the end there is a great company. I mean, quite often they fail, but nevertheless, like so many super interesting and motivated people. I was like, okay, that sounds super interesting. And then, of course, I was thinking about where can I fit in? And this venture capital side was very interesting for myself because I had a finance background and also corporate strategy and cooperation, also if you have M&A deals or things like that, you kind of negotiate with those people. And I was like, okay, that could be similar, at least on a high level. And I started reading about Bitcoin in 2017, but only on a very high level. And I was like, okay, I really don't understand what this is about. And I was like, okay, maybe I can try to buy some. And at the end I managed, but I think it took me 2 days to set up an account and it was so scary. I was like, okay, I really don't understand what I'm doing here. But I managed to, and then, there was another bull run, but then around Christmas, everything dropped.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I bought something. I did not really understand what I was doing. And then I sold it because I was also kind of panicking. I mean, it was not like a super big amount, but still I had the feeling, okay, you really don't understand what you're doing. So I bought it, I sold it. It was more or less zero after. So I didn't sell it for zero, but there was no upside, no downside. And then, it was quite hard to get into the blockchain space, at least at that point in time, because I didn't had like a cousin or a friend or a big brother or anybody who was kind of guiding and helping me. So, and I didn't know anybody. And it was like, there was no community where I could join. And so I didn't do a lot until 2020. And then it came again into my mind, and I was like, okay, maybe this is like getting serious. And so things kind of combined, because I was reading more. I was doing, I think I started with DLT talents. I would think not yet 2020. I think it was a little later, but Frankfurt School started with education topics. Then they built a community. Then there had been like some more online research or learning communities. You could apply for some courses. So I kind of got a feed into this topic by some guided and structured learning things, basically. And so I had the blockchain topic, which was super interesting, and I had the urge to do something else, and the interest of being in a VC or being part of a VC and working with startups. And so at least I had an idea where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. But I didn't know how to get there, because I obviously no network, no contacts. I didn't know anybody. And so I was like, okay, this is not going to be easy. And it took me months to come to that decision. But at a certain point in time, I just decided that I'm going to leave BMW. It's okay. I don't need to have like the next big job. I'm fine with just exploring, meeting with people, talking to them, and see where it leads me. Because I really believe that you're committed to something, and I was at least committed to change. Then there will be some new doors that kind of open up, because people, you know, people help each other, especially if they see that there is a commitment and that people want to change and learn and grow and stuff like that. And so I quit at BMW.
With plan B already or without, because I know BMW pay really, really good if you're in Munich, you know. That level of security it gave you, like, and then you give it up with plan B or without plan B?
Without plan B.
So you just quit it? So you didn't have any... How did you manage your private life? Because I know it's going to be really tough for your mental thing, isn't it?
It was. And it was not like, the decision was not made within a week or two. I think it was maybe more than 6 months, basically. I think it was really a long time. There was a friend of mine with whom I was talking a lot, and he was always working as entrepreneur or business guy, opening his own or bringing his own ideas to life. And he once, you know, you're talking with so many people, but at the end, there are some things that kind of really stick to your mind, and you never know what it is. You kind of have to talk to many people. And he said, like, Sarah, you're always focusing on the downside, which is like, you give up security, you give up a really good salary, you give up maybe also some friends and some safety and stuff like that. But he said, you're always only looking at the downside, but not at the possibilities, not at the upside, not at the freedom, at the chances, or not all the possibilities to learn, to grow, to network. All those things, you're focusing always on the negative, but not on the positive. And this was such a strong statement for me. Because I thought, yes, he is right. And then, you know, I like playing with scenarios in my head. And then I was thinking about, okay, what's like a worst case scenario? So the worst thing that can happen to me. And then I was thinking, and then I was like, okay, I don't find a job within 1 year, because this 1 year I was thinking about 1 year living without salary, because, I was calculating things. And I mean, you can size down, you don't need to go shopping, you don't need to go on holidays, you don't need to have like an expensive car. So you can really force yourself to downsize. And then I was thinking about, okay, 1 year is possible, max, without a salary. And what I then did is like, okay, worst case scenario is I don't find a job within this 1 year, like 12 months. It's not
possible.
This is so long, like, I mean, 12
months. Possible. Okay.
Okay, no job at all within 12 months. Okay, then maybe after, I don't know, 10 months of no job, I would start to search again for a normal job, which which would mean I would go back to BMW. Maybe I would go to any of their competitors or to any other corporate company. I mean, Munich is like, we are not talking about a small, I don't know, village, but we are talking about Munich. So you have many companies, and I still have a good reputation, or I mean, I was in really good positions at BMW, so it's not that I'm starting with zero. And so I was like, okay, worst case is I need to search for a quite normal job with any kind of company as a normal employee. Another worst case is I'm not finding a great job, but I could not believe I'm finding no job at all. So worst case scenario is for me, I'm finding a job which is maybe boring or more boring than before. Simple. Maybe less money, but not zero, but maybe less. Maybe at least the worst case was for me maybe half, but this is like worst case. So a boring, not great job was maybe 50-60% of salary. This was like the absolute worst case scenario. And then I was like, okay, but the upside is like there's so many possibilities and so much to learn. And yeah. And after I had that clear in my head, I was like, okay, you can manage the downside. Because even if the worst case scenario appears, it doesn't mean I have to stay there. I mean, I could start any kind of job, and then I can still do outreach every day, try to find a better job. It's not that if I'm stuck in a bad position, I kind of have to stay there. You know, maybe I have worst case scenario for 1 or 2 or 5 months, and then it's getting better again. So I was like, okay, the worst case scenario is not that bad.
You know what is funny is that I find it very, very interesting because your personality is like type A founder. You know, like you are creative, strategic thinking, and outgoing. You're good at selling yourself or ideas. Why being an entrepreneur wasn't a choice?
At the very beginning?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like why?
Yeah. So, frankly speaking, I think we are all influenced by our parents, our surrounding, the people whom we are studying with. And especially while studying, I was working for corporate companies. I was working for Bosch, I was working for Siemens, I was working for Daimler. So anyhow, I started working for those big companies. And then all of my friends, none of them started a company. All of them started in any kind of corporate company, consulting. I didn't know anybody from the startup ecosystem, basically. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just happened. So, and many of them wanted to go to the big, so Porsche, Daimler, BMW, Audi. These have been like, I don't know, people wanted to work for those companies. And this was like the big target for many of them. So I was just not surrounded by people with that kind of spirit. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. And so
Have you thought about that before I ask you?
I mean, I thought about, and there was sometimes there was like a little regret that I had the feeling like, oh, maybe that would have been super interesting a lot earlier. So I was thinking about it, but it's like, when I was studying, this was just not an option.
So interesting. Do you think like back then, if all of your friends, at least half of them were entrepreneurs, half of them are like in big corporate, do you think you would have done things differently a little bit?
Maybe not even a little, but totally different.
Yeah, because tell us a little bit, what are you doing right now? Because I know right now, one hand you are working with a lot of corporates, on the other hand you work with a lot of startup founders. Like, how do you feel right now? Like,
Yeah, maybe one sentence is before we switch to BFG.
Yeah.
I think, and I read it several times already, and I think it's true, you're influenced and you're also a result of the 5 people you surround yourself most with. And I think this is totally true. So if you choose wisely with whom you be together, so your boyfriend or girlfriend, husband, wife, friends. I mean, you can't choose your parents, obviously, but especially friends and those people, they influence your life a lot. So just to keep that in mind. This is something.
Can
important.
I conclude the closest 5 people in your circle are like more like a corporate?
Not now
side of-
anymore. This also has changed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I do still have my friends from school and stuff like that, and we meet, and I'm super happy to have them. But even that has changed a lot.
I lost so many friends. I mean, friends
too.
are so seasonal. Like I don't know. It's just like in your different phase of life, and then some people come and go, and then up until a point you just realize that is not forever. You know, it's sad. It's so sad, but somehow it's so true. For instance, Nadine, right, from our like VC, one of our investment. She became really one of close friend, and then things have been changing a lot too in my life. And I think you are right? Surround your surrounding with good people, and where your energy flows, your body goes. I do believe it,
100%.
But like, how did you grow up? Like, your parents is more like a corporate kind of people, or like entrepreneurial kind of mindset?
My father had his own company, but a really small consulting company in the automobile industry, basically. So he was more the entrepreneurial spirit. So it was part of my life, but it was not a startup. It was basically a consulting business, and it was running very well, no problems, but also not like big growth case or something like that. And my mother was really on the safe side of life, basically. And so, I think my father was first contact point for me, but maybe also the only one. And so
in terms of business,
yeah.
Because I think you are not like a housewife type, obviously.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Obvious, duh. So how your parents educated you? They let you try, or they would give you a frame and then you can only run in a circle in a frame? Like, what kind of education you have?
Good question. I think my father always challenged me.
Really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
there was no limitation. There was always like, he always gave me a lot of freedom to explore and try things. So my father was super sporty, so on the sporty side. And so he was always pushing me to do more and go deeper and be strong and stuff like that. So my father was pushing me a lot.
Crazy. Okay, that is something very interesting. Like, so my dad, I still remember one thing is so funny. Like, I asked him why cockroach was walking in that way. And then my dad, because I was little, I was really small. And my dad said, how should I know? Why don't you just ask the cockroach? Figure it out, Like, I kind of find it all kind of similar. Just you want like to be more like a solution orientated. Yeah. And I think that really shaped our future in a way.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think that is another really important trait for entrepreneur too.
Yes.
Because if you have a problem, you kind of just need to suck it up, solve it, kind of a thing. So you quit your BMW job, and then there's a 1 year gap. I assume not exactly one year. No. Turns out, right?
Yeah. So basically, I quit my job. I had only like 4 or 5 weeks, but within those 4 or 5 weeks, I got to know Sandro and Axel from Ventures. Mm-hmm. And
another VC.
This is exactly a small VC in Munich. And so basically, I directly started working for them. Mm-hmm. At the beginning, more or less like an intern, because I had no clue, frankly speaking.
So you were experienced strategic advisor kind of role back then in BMW, or?
No, BMW I quit, and then I started working for Ventures.
But BMW, you were senior role.
Yes.
And then you did the internship with a VC.
Yeah, well, call it as you like. There was we had been like a super small team, no titles. They just started like 3 months before with Ventures, started with fundraising, started with building that fund. they also started from the scratch with zero. They had knowledge, but also they had been doing this for the first time. And I got introduced to them, and I just said, hey, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to understand what you're doing, I want to network, I want just to help you. And so there was no like real frame around that. So it was just, okay, let's help each other. They help me with contracts and knowledge and stuff like that, and I help them with their everyday work basically. And I was totally fine with that because I knew I can't, you can't expect to start in a totally new industry without any kind of knowledge and then getting directly your old salary. Why should anybody pay you because you just don't have knowledge? And so it was totally fine for me. Also, I was not in a super strict frame because, of course, I had my freedom. I could choose things I want to learn, work and stuff like that. And then after, I think it was 8 months or something like that, maybe only 6 or 7, I was talking to Philip Sandner. And he asked me whether I want to become the managing director of Blockchain Founders Group.
So Philip was one of the most prominent blockchain figure in Germany.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And then he asked you to become the managing director of Blockchain Founders Group, which is the VC.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God, like if you really look at your career trajectory, you're like senior role in a really big corporate, being an intern for 8 months without knowing. After 8 months, you become the managing director.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's true. That's like
yeah, it's because like right now you look back, right? Of course, everything makes sense, perfect sense, right? But like so many people who are listening right now, they are in a like super big corporate, having a good job, but they really want to make the jump because they just don't like the things they are doing. So many of my old friends, they still stuck there.
Yeah.
They said, yeah, I want to do marketing, I want to do finance. And yeah. Dude, just change,
Yes.
But like they are too afraid because they already have this prestige position. And then a lot of offer, they got into the industry of the industry they want to go. Mm-hmm. The offer, they cannot get a good one, of course, like you said. You don't have knowledge, you don't have know-how. But they just cannot let the ego go.
Yes.
So if those kind of people are listening right now, can you tell us what's going on in your head? Like, how did you engineer all of those,
I think it's coming back a little to what I already said. I had the feeling of I need to learn more. So learning and growing is one of my most important values. I know that because I was also like taking some steps back and thinking about what is really important for me in life. And growing is one of the most important things, together with freedom. Security and safety also plays a role, so it's also important for me. But the topic of learning, growing, and freedom is like a lot bigger.
And after you become a managing director, since I would say 8 months is probably little, but I understand startup, the intensity of learning is really, really strong. Yes. But can you let us know, becoming a managing director in a brand new industry after only 8 months in, what kind of challenge have you faced, or like what kind of upside? That is the most. You are building your own startup literally as an MD, right? So.
I mean, Philip and also some other people who kind of founded the company before, they already laid like a good groundwork, basically. So I didn't start from zero. But of course, what you just mentioned is like, it was the first time for me becoming managing director. And I think with the German GmbH, you have like many safety nets, but nevertheless, you're also really responsible and just you as a person. So it's not that you have like 10 bosses and they make the decisions, what I said at the beginning, but it's really you being responsible. So I had to learn a lot. So also like how is the GmbH working? How is it structured? What are my rights? What are the things I need to take care? Also, I had employees and I was like, okay, what do I need to take care and what do I need to consider with those things, because you are responsible. And so I also had a business coach for a while who was kind of guiding me through the muddy waters at the very beginning. I mean, I also had Philip, and I also had one and two other people kind of helping with me with questions. So at the beginning, I was relying on knowledge and experience from other people, which is, I guess, totally fine. But the thing is, you really have to have those people, and you have to ask. Because if you just think you can manage everything on your own, you won't survive, I guess. But the thing that I really love is like all the experience you are doing, and again, coming back to the topic of responsibility, if you are the one who is responsible, if you are signing the contracts, if you are doing the things, the way you do the things is different, because you are how to explain, you know that there's nobody else who is covering, taking care, doing something. So you're really sitting down, you're really trying to understand, you're really going deep, because you have to. And if you do that once with one topic, you've learned so much. Because it's not only being on the surface, like checking, like, okay, could be like that, it's okay, I just sign. You really have to understand what you're doing. And if you understand it the first time, the second time is already so much easier. And so you kind of build up a lot of knowledge and a lot of things. And then it's getting easier. But at the beginning, I think I really had to ask a lot of things. Google, then ChatGPT came in, which also helped me a lot. Thanks,
I was about
God.
to say you manage everything without ChatGPT, you know.
At the beginning, there was no ChatGPT. I can't even imagine it nowadays.
Yeah.
But and what I really love is like, I'm like a super structured person. So I have my Notion board with everything. So I really forced myself always, after I had like a problem, which was not as, I was always like writing everything down. So the topic, the solution, how I did it. And this is now like an amazing source for me, because I can always, like, there's so much in now.
Oh, you have a private Notion board.
Yeah, like only with the things I've learned as managing director, what I need to do, like, and what I was also doing, and this was a game changer for me. So building up resilience, I think this is something you also can't learn it in a book. You kind of have to go through certain things. And so at a certain point of time, I had some ups and I had some downs. I mean, Philip died a year ago, which was for sure a big downside. But there had been many other things, like fundraising is not always easy, changing employees. I mean, super happy to have you. Thank you. So, there had been so many things. Sometimes then I had certain problems with contracts, for example. They're like, some things are coming and you have to solve it. And what I did is writing all those things down on top. Like, I just sometimes have like a month, and then I have all the problems listed down there. And then you know that you solved all of them. And if you have a list for, I don't know, 1 year, 2 years, now it's already 2.5 years, where I have all the things that I solved. Sometimes if I now do have a problem, I'm just opening up that list and I'm like, okay, the current problem is not such a big one.
Solution will come at some point,
Yeah, because I know that I managed to go through all those problems. Okay, the current one, just sit down, think about it, talk to some people, get some advice, whatever. But of course, there will be a solution for this problem. It's not such a big... Yeah, and this helps me so much. It's a total game changer for me.
See, that is just another, because I listen to so many podcasts, and this is another type A trait for entrepreneur too, because first thing you need to sit down and then write down all of the things you know, and that's it. What will work, what you know as a fact, right? What will work, what doesn't work. Yeah. And you're already doing this since 2.5 years. So, I mean, I still don't get it why you're not a founder, Literally, no. I've done my work. I still don't get it. If things can...
Maybe once in the future.
Yeah, but I still don't get it.
As I said at the very beginning, there was no contact points.
Yeah.
And now I also love what I'm doing, like trying to help those current founders. Maybe I'll be a founder on my own once in the future. But nowadays, I also really love what I'm doing because all the learnings, I'm trying to, we are an accelerator. So we are not only investing, but we have a program, and the program is about 8 weeks. And within this program, we really try to help the founders focus on the right priorities, working better in terms of communication, team, also focusing on topics like tech and marketing. But I'm always trying to bring my experience to the table. So I'm always trying to explain them what I went through. And this is also something that is super satisfying, because it's nice to, you made all those experiences. So, and like you said, I didn't found a company on my own, but as I was taking over a super, super, super early stage company, I think I made several experiences. And so I kind of feel them. I know what they are going through. We also, as a fund, you have on the right side, you have the startups. On the left side, you have the LPs. And the fund in between is basically the brain, because you kind of connect money with startups, and we as fund believe that we can do better investment decisions than a single LP, because LPs don't work full-time in that space. They don't read all the news. They don't know about all the startups and what's happening in the space. And so what I want to say is we also need to do fundraising, like, for example, the startups. And we also have our struggles with certain things. So I think I can relate to startup founders very well. And I'm trying to help them with my experience, which is a cool thing.
Amazing. So like, what are we looking at in terms of your career in 2025?
Oh, well, I mean, what I enjoy a lot at the moment is, like, as I said, the first year was challenging because first time managing director. Second year was challenging because Philipp Sandner died, and I also had to do some restructuring, to do some fundraising, and to rebuild the team a little, to really have like the perfect skills and the perfect setting now. And then I also used last year, together already with a new team, to kind of have a new strategy, to decide on where to focus, and to think about how we want to position us, what's our USP. So, and I'm coming to the USP topic in a second, but what I wanted to say is, like, in 2025, I have the first time the feeling like everything is now in a perfect position to grow and to scale. And this is something what I really want to do in 2025. So I don't want to, so everything is stable, but now we can really grow. Because, so our strategy and our USP is we decided to especially focus on countries that are not super crowded. Because, for example, the US and also Asia, you have like many super, super strong, huge VCs with a lot of money throwing the money on those startups. So we decided to focus a little more on countries that are not that crowded. And so one of the first things we went to, or we working together, is Latin America, and also Eastern Europe is like super interesting for us. And what we did is building corporations there with people living there, with people whom we trust. And they know the market, they know the people, they know the brands, they know the whole ecosystem, basically. And so we decided to work together with them to have some events, some startup events, pitch sessions, stuff like that. And then really bring the best founders from those countries into our program, help them, grow them, scale them, with everything that is, that we can do, basically. And so I'm really, really looking forward to the next program, which starts on the 14th of April. And then we will have the second program, maybe September, October. And I would love to really have like 20, 25 new startups in our portfolio this year to help the startups that are already part of our ecosystem, basically. And so, of course, get some new investors on board, and really also have like some success stories, because like the startups we funded, like 2 or 3 years ago, there are like some startups that have really good traction nowadays, and they can really grow and make maybe a serious seed stage, and not only pre-seed but already seed. And then you have like some success stories because you have a great multiple, and so we can also prove that we can make the right investment decisions. And so this is basically what I want to. So I want to get the positive side of all the work that had been done the last 2 years, and now I want to really being on the scaling side and seeing great values and great success stories.
So the jump paid off, the 8 months paid off.
Hopefully.
That is so insane. So have you ever thought about giving up? If you think back, I know right now it's, you conquer every single hard moment. Was there any specific moment you're like, girl, I can't do this? But you grinded through, what motivates you?
Yeah. So I don't remember like any super specific time, but I had like those down moments, or where I had lived like the feeling where I was like, okay, how should I manage that? I had it several times, but I still have my fallback scenario back in my mind. Like I can still apply to any, corporate company and get like any kind of boring job. And so this is always in the back of my mind. And so it's like,
so you're like, either I do it, even it's a shit scenario, or I go to a boring job. No, I'm gonna deal with the shit scenario.
Exactly. This is like, 100%.
Like, no brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I think what also helps me is I do have some really, really great friends now that are experienced in the VC space and or as founders. And so I can call them and like, hey, I'm really, really stuck. I don't know what to do. And then they take time, and sometimes it's only like 15 or 20 minutes, and sometimes there's not even a solution. But, I think every founder is struggling sometimes.
Every time.
And, normally if you do marketing and outreach, you only see the upside, which is okay, because you if you tell like your investors, okay, everything is shit, you won't get any money. So it's okay to focus on the positive side. And sometimes you also have this LinkedIn things, for example, where people also talk about really negative things. But I think it's okay to, in the public, focus on the positive side. But if you then start talking to people, they are all in similar situations and they all have to deal with shit. And so, you're not alone. People went through similar situations. Worst case scenario is still not super bad. And then just try to move forward. And sometimes it's like baby steps, trying some things. And sometimes it's calling the right people. And sometimes it's just thinking about solutions. And interestingly, it always works at the end.
Right?
Until now. Never know about the future.
Yeah.
Not 100%. But exactly.
But
until now.
It's so funny because I listened to this podcast from Alex Hormozy. You know him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he said like his advisor told him that, sometimes you see the grass on the other side is so green, but what you don't know is that it's full of shit. Yeah. It's fertilized by shit. It's all shit. Everybody has their own shit. So
100% totally agree.
Yeah, exactly. So you just have to go through it, and you have a greener grass next year, right? So
yes,
exactly. So what Ian tell you does make you stronger. So final word of wisdom, what would you tell whoever is listening right now until this point?
What helped me the most is really focus on the upside. Focus on your values. So for example, if you're not driven by freedom and growth, but if security is the most important thing for you, maybe you're not right in the startup space, and there's never right or wrong. You just have to find the right place for yourself. So your values, upside, really take time to look back what you already managed. And it's totally fine to call people and just ask for help or talk to them, because they're like super experienced people out there. And especially if you're still young, you can't expect to have the same level of experience and knowledge as somebody who is like 50 or even older and was working in as entrepreneur or investor or founder whatsoever his whole life. So don't expect to be perfect from the beginning, and be surrounded by the right people, especially if you have a team. This is like the biggest game changer. Having the right people around you who believe in you, who work with you, who help you, who do brainstorming with you. I think this is like, yeah, these are the things I would say helped me a lot.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a lot to process, especially like, I have so many confusion in my head because, again, when I see you, I see not just managing director, I see a founder, and I really hope in the future you'll be happy regardless what you are doing anyhow, because I know you really know what you want, and then if you want something, you get it. So
I try.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good model for whoever is listening, wanting to make the career jump, or like, just confusing as much as when you were back then. I do think this entire talk would help them a lot, and thank you for giving us your time, and then I wish you a really, really good day.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
And next time we will check out your Notion board.
Okay. Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah.